Facebook ads, if that's something you'd like as well. So I don't see that John's on. So he, like I said, he may not be able to make it because he's really trying to save his voice for the class at 9. So if you guys want, you can each, everybody can unmute themselves if you want. You can like kind of jump in and start chatting if you want. I did want to make sure, Devi and Scott, did you get the tag that you guys are in the hot seat today?
Yes, I will be there.
Awesome. Okay, great. Great. So how is everybody else doing? Have you been able to use Accelerator yet and Copy Pro?
I haven't even really, I logged in to get my account going, but I haven't touched anything. It's been a busy week.
Yeah. Accelerator is a sort of like a beast of a software there. There's a lot in there to create your VSL. So.
Hello.
Hi.
Who is it? Okay, I thought my mic wasn't working. It's Dovey. I just want to say that I've already done a hot seat, so I'm ready to do more. But if there's other people who haven't, then I just want to point out that I've done it already.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks, Dovey. I'm actually keeping track of everybody. Here's the thing is, when I went through the top 5 of people who submitted their homework from Friday, you guys had all already been in the hot seat. So you get to go up again. And we definitely want to encourage people who haven't been in the hot seat to submit homework. I know some people are behind, but you're being rewarded for participating. So I think I haven't seen, let's see, who hasn't been in the hot seat yet? Patricia, I don't know if you've been able to do a hot seat yet. Or Elaine.
No, I haven't.
We'd love to see you in there.
No, I know. I want to join. It's been crazy at work, but I plan to get everything caught up this week. So hopefully by next week I can actually get one-on-one.
Okay. Great. Okay. So does anybody want to talk about the homework or Friday's class, or just share some more insights maybe you've gotten after thinking through it a little bit? I know it's kind of intense.
One of the things that I did was I looked at the book from James Webb Young for the technique for producing ideas. And I keep a open notepad for just a snippet of an idea for a headline or for a title or something. And all weekend long, I was putting some ideas in my folder, and I was able to come up with some combinations.
Wow. That's awesome. You always have great note-taking, Scott. I like your note-taking approach.
Thank you. It's how I remember things.
So I heard that somewhere. I heard that just psychology-wise, if you write it down and even if you don't look at it again, you're more likely to remember it. Yeah. So.
I do that. And then anytime that I have to find information, I can always go into those notes and just use a search bar.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I got to go back to the video, since I try to timestamp everything, I can find it easily on that video instead of trying to go through the whole thing.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So does anybody else have any thoughts from Friday?
Actually, Liana, I had you mentioned Facebook ads right now.
Yeah, sure. We can jump into that if you like.
I'm about to I'm thinking either today or tomorrow, I'm going to start a cold traffic campaign. So I don't know. I don't have any questions per se right now at the top of my head, but if you have something to share about regarding Facebook ads, I'll be happy to listen to you.
Sure. Well, I can share with you guys an experiment I've been working on the past week and a half or so. I've actually been taking elements of copy. So like the headline or the subheadlines, or maybe there's a phrase with duality that I want to test. And I'm only testing those as a text in ads. So I'll do an ad that it just has a colored background and it might just have the headline on it. And I'll run it as a link click ad, and I'll have like a variety of them. So say like 5 to 10 of them. And I've been running it to the audience that I want to focus on in Facebook. And then I let it go to about 400 or 500 impressions. And then I mark down which ones had the cheapest click-through rates. So that gives me an indicator that that will probably work for this audience. So I got this idea from somebody else who started doing that. And it's been kind of cool because I just go through, I'm not looking for conversions, right? I'm just going through the copy and just picking elements of the sales page or the opt-in page that we want to test. And then we take the winners and then I put it into the landing page. And I think, like, again, it's just, this is sort of anecdotal because I don't have a ton of numbers behind this, but it seems to be helping because, you know, now that then we know what changes to actually try out more on the landing page and also in the ad. So then I'll take that headline and put it on like a quote unquote real ad, like a conversion ad with the full copy and the image and everything like that. So you may want to check that out. But I do it just against like a solid colored background, just so that it's more likely that people are clicking through just because of the text rather than like a cool picture that, you know, that I interrupted their day with.
And if I could add to that, Liana, it works the other way as well. I just today stopped the split test where we updated the headline to match our best performing ad.
Oh.
So that one on both conversion rate and on the revenue. But I just want to remind everyone that when you're testing these types of things, usually you'll be looking at your CPA and your revenue as the primary objective metrics, right? Because click-through rate might be good, but you might have a super clickbait headline or super clickbait, even, you know, landing page to product page to order form, and therefore, like the high click-through rate is just because you have a very clickbait thing. Really what you want to look at is sales. So don't get sidetracked by click-through or CPMs or CPCs. Focus on the most important goal.
Totally. I totally agree. Yeah, I've only just been using it, again, just to give you a better indicator, just to give me a better indicator of what might actually work better than another one. But, and then you have to go into your full, then you do it properly. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, but no, that's cool. That I agree with that for sure. Like, and sometimes we'll have like different landing pages going to different ads just because, like you said, just making the headline the same on your top ads can help a lot. So there's more congruence.
Yes, that's presumably what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's just a better message, which is why it's the control ad.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But, and it is, I always just keep reminding people too, it's also still very, like Facebook is just still very random. It's never even, I always just tell people this is so not even close to like proper testing, right? Because I do know somebody who works inside of Facebook and all the things he shares with me is it does get pretty random, you know, just in terms of how they're serving it up or, you know, just weird things that happen in Facebook is because some engineer, you know, put in a wrong code that day for some reason and then they have to fix it. So we kind of have to deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that
good.
type of thing does happen.
Go ahead.
No, just that, I was just saying that type of thing does happen. But overall, you could do really good testing on Facebook because the targeting is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, every so often they screw things up with algorithm changes, but overall, and eventually you'll have to restabilize. Like when they do that, you'll have to restabilize the account. But once that happens, you can do some really good split tests there.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. The other thing I have done on John's ads is we try actually to use Copy Pro whenever we can for John's ads. So I do find that, you know, just taking just one of the emails inside of Copy Pro and just, you know, changing a little bit for an ad, they do tend to work pretty well overall. Better actually than just sometimes even just John just writing an ad from scratch. So that also might be something you want to check out as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. let's see. Oh, another tip that I had recently too from my friend who works inside of Facebook is he said, if you have any ads that get rejected, what you want to, that sort of puts a black mark against your account in a way. So what you want to do is you want to then right away start to run some ads to show Facebook, no, I can actually put out ads that are acceptable. So what we'll do is we'll actually put out Facebook like ads to your page. You can do like, it's like $5 a day or something, and you only have to run it for a couple of hours or even an hour. So you just go to your page, go like the page, because in general, those ads are almost always approved. So you run a whole, and the ratio you have to try and get is around 10 good ads to one every disapproved ad. So I'll just go in and I'll run like a whole bunch of different like ads, and then I'll turn them off. And then I have noticed that on some accounts where I've done this before, the ads do get served up faster then, and it really does seem to help. So that might be something you want to look into if you ever get disapproved.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm here now too. Hi Oscar, hi Danielle. It's Leanne. Who's here?
Yeah.
Leanna, Brennan, Daniela.
You have questions about
Ravi.
copyrow and copywriting. Leanne's an amazing resource for this too. So I think, Leanne, everybody's been sort of too busy to jump in Accelerator yet, but
That's fine. I mean, Accelerator is great for VSL, but we're so focused on CopyPro that it's actually good. Like, do your CopyPro work, and that's Accelerator will be there when you need it, right?
yeah.
So if you have any CopyPro related questions or email or copy or questions about, I know, Dovey, you had a question about the primary and the secondary goals, right? That you shot me into support.
I wouldn't say it's a question. It was more a suggestion. I just found it really tedious to go through all the different iterations of tenses for.
Yes, I agree.
And aside from that, I find it confusing because let's just say my primary goal is to, I don't know, to control my diabetes, right? So I'll say control my diabetes, controlled my diabetes, controlling my diabetes. So firstly, just to enter all those, very time consuming and tedious, but that's just a UX UI thing. Then when it comes to adding in the other goals, so primary goal is just one. You have to do
Correct.
it for everyone, but it's just one. Then you go to your secondary goals, and what would really feel natural is to say, okay, so what's a secondary goal for diabetics? To be able to eat the foods that you want to eat, to not have to prick yourself in public, to
Correct. Yep.
whatever. So you want to enter all those bam, 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 bam. But what ends up happening is that because, so you want to enter many at once, and then you forget which ones you entered, and then you have to go, like, because you want to enter, so you enter for the first secondary goal section, but then you go to the next one. So it's like, you know, future, past, present.
Right. So
and you forget which
do.
ones you entered, and then you have to go back to see which ones you entered, and just so you get them all. It's
Yep.
a lot of back and forth.
Yep. So here's my suggestion. What I would do is I would go into a doc, any document, right? And I'd write a primary goal, and that I would put like 2 to 3 to 4 variations of that under, like I would put primary goal as a heading, right? And then under it, control my diabetes, live diabetes free. You know what I mean? So now I've got 3 or 4 variations of that primary goal. Now I put a heading secondary goal. Now I'm just going to blast in every secondary goal I can think about, stream of consciousness, and I'm just going to put them into a document, right? Then you can look at them, organize them, and copy and paste them wherever you want. Now, you could literally copy and paste them all and just start at the first tense and work your way down and put them all in every tense, which is what I would do eventually. But you may want to choose like 2 to start, because it's a lot of copying and pasting, and get 2 into every single tense, and then add more as you want. But they'll all be on that like sort of cheat sheet document. And if you want, like I'll share with you something I am creating. I'll share my screen and I'll show you this, because this really helps me with niche entries. hang on, because I can't share my screen yet. I gotta find it. But does that help? Well,
Yeah, it's the simplest solution. I never thought of it. Just put it on a separate doc. But it would be good to have a better UI for that. But just another question.
sure.
Does the system naturally mix and match all of those? So if you have 3 or 4 primary solutions and 7 or 8 or 10 secondary solutions, is it just a random mix and match? So if there's things that don't make sense together, how do you keep them separate by creating
I'll
different
show you.
niches?
I'll show you. That's the magic of, believe me, we worked long and hard on this, and I went back and forth with John many a time on, we need this to work, we got to get it to work, and it's not working. And so here's, if I show you the back end, right, this will make sense. And I'm going to bring up the back end of Copy Pro. So let me just get into it. And because basically, Copy Pro does regenerate, but it will, I'll show you, hang on. This is all going to look like gobbledygook to you guys, but no, give me access, you. Basically, we have it programmed so that when we put in the code for it to pull primary or secondary goals, we label them 1, 2, or 3, or 4, like however many you have in the system, right? So let me email here. Let me just pick any email. Hopefully this has secondary goals in it. Primary, it doesn't really matter. Oh shoot, hang on. Okay. Oh, I know. This will pull it up. This will be perfect. All right. Now share screen. Thanks for your patience. Okay. You guys can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So you see how right here it says primary goal pass there, and then there's a number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have to choose that. And then if there is something in that, like topic, right, that also relates to that particular primary goal, when I enter the topic in here, like if I was to put a topic right here, I would choose the same number 1 primary goal so that I know that topic matches up to that primary goal. So you guys don't have to worry about it on your end because we do all that on the back end. So feel free to know that whatever topic you input to that primary goal or secondary goal gets attached, and then we program it on the back end to make sure that they match up in the copy. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. Make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it explains that it just wasn't clear in the beginning how you keep it separate and what it's going to come out looking like.
Yeah, and if you can see like this, all this gobbledygook, right, is that direct response sales letter that we have in CopyPro. And see here, it says Success Smiths 2 and Success Smiths 3 and False Solutions 1 and False Solutions 2. That means that this will only pull, it'll pull as many variations of false solutions as we have out of CopyPro. So if we regenerate that email and you have 5 false solutions in there, it will regenerate them, but it will only pull one, and it won't put things that don't make sense. And this one, so in other words, it will always randomize these two differently, right? You've got 5 in there. It will always put, like, let's say it might pull 3 and 2 or 4 and 1, but it will never pull info from inside the false solution that doesn't belong with that false solution. So, and as for primary goal and secondary goal, I would just use that sheet. And I would use that sheet for anything, anytime like you want to just brain dump, like any information, don't do it inside the machine because there's like constraints and it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable way to create something. Do it on that separate sheet and then copy it in. That I always found that to work better for me.
A great tip. Thank you.
You're welcome. And now I've lost my, let me stop sharing. Okay.
Hey.
So now, now I can see you guys all again. So anybody else have any questions?
Is that John coming on?
It is.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. All right, it's going to be like this for the next hour and a half or so, but good morning. I sound worse than I am. So how are you guys doing? Somebody say something.
Doing great, John.
Good, John.
Thank you.
Coming on.
I just got here too.
Good deal. I just didn't have a voice. Yeah, and plus I wanted to add something to I forgot something on the slides today. I woke up, I went, oh, I forgot this one part, so I had to get that done. But I'm here. I'm here. I'm trying to hold my voice back so I can have it for the recording, because afterwards it will be pretty shot for the day. So if that's cool with you guys. What's the concept? What are we talking about? Hey, Oscar. Hi, Dobby. Hey, Valerie, Aline, Derek, Brennan, Daniela. Hey, what's going on? Tell me what we're talking about.
Leanne was just answering some questions about Copy Pro, and we were starting to have just some discussions about insights or questions from the homework.
Yeah, I'm actually covering some of the homework inside the slides, which is what I forgot to do. Well, actually that, and I forgot to do 2 things inside the slides. I woke up and I forgot to actually teach you how to do it, like how I created my primary solution. But it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's the same thing as a primary cause. You're just switching it from negative to positive, but I'm going to share that with you anyway. But I'm also sharing 3 of the homework examples because I thought they were really, really good. Yeah, and we're actually going to have a section for that in the class today. So yeah. Anyone else ever does everyone else get summer colds? Because I always, like, the first time it starts getting warm, it's like every single time it hits me. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not like I'm sick, but it's just a pain in the ass because you don't have your voice or anything. But yeah, so check this out. This is way off topic, I'm sure, but I'm going to share it anyway. How many of you, like, when you get a cold, I mean, like, you feel really sick, like you're like, not like you're throwing up or something, but like you're just like, I'm sick, I feel terrible, you got other people, they're like, oh yeah, I got a cold, but I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that. And I always wondered how those people do that, and now I figured it out because I can do that now. I can do that. And it's hydration. It's like I was always like chronically dehydrated. I drink so much water now. I drink like probably 4 to 8 of these a day. And yeah, so a same summer cold used to knock me on my ass like it was the flu for like weeks. Well, not weeks, but I mean, for 4 or 5 days. And I mean, like, I just didn't want to do anything. Even now, like, I go to sleep and say, I just don't want to, I'm not going to go work out because I know that's what pushed me in the cold to begin with. We had this really heavy workout session. And next day I was like, I shouldn't have pushed it that hard, But yeah, it certainly doesn't feel like it used to. Anyone else have any cold experiences they want to share? I know it's like copywriting stuff, but what the hell?
I don't know if I got the same thing. I'm still getting over
I could barely speak probably about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I started like a lot of supplements and stuff. So I don't know if that's just I was getting sick or maybe if by giving my body a lot of stuff, I was cleaning something out.
Yeah. Either detox or something.
I can't remember last time I got a cold. Can't remember.
Wow.
Don't really get sick. Yeah.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I wish I had that problem. I can't remember the last time I got the flu or anything like. I mean, actually I can because I was in the hospital, almost died, so I could remember that really plainly. But that was the last time I ever, I said I'll never go through that again. And I've been very vigilant with flu shots and things of that nature which worked for me. But I'm clearly not autistic, so at least not that I know of. Am I autistic anyway? But yeah, colds, man, they're tough, especially when the last week was insane. It was like long hours. And, I think if that wouldn't have happened last week, I would never have gotten sick because I rarely get sick. When I say every summer, it's not every summer, but yeah, if I'm working super hard, like 18-hour days or 16-hour days, which I don't do that much anymore, but I was last week and going on all cylinders, man, then yeah, you're asking for it. If it's floating around and you get a guy in your room coughing his head off all the time, you're going to get it. You're going to probably get it. It's like being around a kid, So, hey, Tim, you just popping on?
Just got the camera on.
Cool.
Got it.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right. And let's see, Oscar, you got your camera or are you just going cameraless today? Davi, hey, buddy. It's Davi. Excuse me. I'll try not to cough everybody's ear out. Hey, there you are.
You're not spreading any germs through the camera. So.
Yeah. It's another late night in Australia, I take it.
Oh, yeah. No, this course has, I've gotten 2 brief sicknesses because my body gets mad when I don't follow a rhythm.
Yep.
If I throw off for more than 1 or 2 days, my body's like, and you're just going to be sick for like 48 hours. Not like get me down, like just annoy me.
Right. Yeah. That's
so, yeah. There was one of these classes where I basically just had like a tissue box and then like just kept muting myself.
Yeah.
Woman is fine. I'm still functioning fine as a human, but my body just pretends like I don't know how to work anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just, like I said, I just remember when it used to be a lot worse where it's like, I would always wonder like, how the hell do people like, but
that makes a lot of sense. So I drink probably in between 5 to 8 liters of water a day, actually. And I've never had like an issue with that. So when you said that, I'm like, because I'll go to the gym too most days, even if I'm sick. Or I'll go, like if I'm not like really dying, I'll go out on the run or go to the gym if it's my workout day.
Yeah.
Brandon, was that 5 to 8 liters?
Yeah.
Wow.
This guy is 750 milliliters, and I fill it up like in between 10 and 12 times a day.
That's a lot. That's important. I mean, yeah, the big, massive difference in how I feel like versus how I usually feel with a cold. I mean, it's a big difference. I just started drinking this much water about a year ago, so it's one of those things you learn. I just didn't like. I still don't like just plain water. I rarely drink just plain water, so I forced myself to learn how to like Perrier. Big difference. So yeah. Any copy questions? We got a half an hour to brainstorm any copy stuff for folks. Now's your chance. Now's your chance to dive in.
I'd love to have you comment on some of the things that I had put in on the homework.
I think I did, didn't I?
You said, yeah, we'll chat about this later.
Oh, we did? I did. Did I have permissions? Did I?
I just put them in like a comment. It was just 3 different little suggestions.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah. I did. Okay.
Because I guess trying to capture, I I think I kind of got a little pulled in a few different directions. So if you could maybe like explain a bit more. So are we trying to just explain what we're offering, or how their life is going to change, or
No,
like are we trying to tie it in together? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you could look at it how their life is going to change, but in a small way. Like what you're wanting to do, and Tim, I remember commenting on yours specifically, is because yours were basically just better primary goals. I mean, they were good. They were really good primary goals. I gotta, that's how you could say that over and over and over again. A couple ways that I came up with distinctions on how to teach this a little bit better over this week when I was actually teaching Josh. These are things that you wouldn't want to say more than once. Like if you said it more than once, it'd be really goofy. Like I'm going to give you an example. If you're in a relationship and you say, honey, I love you, you could say that pretty much 20 times a day. And most people in most relationships, and if you have a good one, they're not going to get tired of it, or I love you just is never going to get tiring, right? But if you said, I love you more than the stars in the sky, and if you said that more than once in the day, your mate would probably look at you like, I think you're losing it. I think you're, if you said it once, he or she may go, oh man, that's awesome. But if she said the same exact thing twice to me, like exactly, I'd be like, are you on a loop? Is like, if she said a third time, I'd be like, is this a fembot? Are you like from Austin Powers or something?
That's what I've been doing wrong. Didn't even realize.
Yeah. So it's something that you wouldn't want to say more than once. So I remember I said, yeah, this is really good. We'll talk about it more on the call because it just needs to be fleshed out. And that's why I wanted to talk about it more on the call. Is like, I like the you'll never sweat the small stuff again, etc. Except you want to start with the idea of like, okay, what's the primary goal? Is the primary goal that you're going to succeed in internet marketing, or you're going to succeed in email marketing, or you're going to dominate email marketing? I believe is one of your primary goals. So you don't even have to say you'll never sweat the small stuff again. That's what I was thinking there. So you'll have such a you'll have such a tremendous click-through rate that the only thing you have to worry about is how many Lamborghinis are making your favorite color, which is just a funny thing to say. Like that's just an outrageous way of saying it. That's a headline grabber. I used a few others from some other students that had real good ones. Davi, I used yours. I thought yours was great. And Davi, I'd also like to mention that you probably should veer away from swear words. I can swear. To my avatar, to copywriters, most copywriters swear. And also I mentioned it to you in my comments to you, which again, I'm sorry, I'm getting to them a little bit late, but you guys were all around last week. You guys saw what we went through last week. All good, all really, really good stuff. But man, there's only so much a guy's brain can take. And last night I'm like, just turn off. Yeah, I was like, literally, I was so brain dead last night. I downloaded 2 movies I really wanted to see. I never got to see Logan, the last Wolverine movie. Made it halfway through it, but I don't even know what are the claws again? I mean, complete, like, what is this? Patrick Stewart, why isn't he in uniform? I mean, when you're asking why Jean-Luc Picard isn't in his uniform, you know that you're probably out of it. You're probably mentally tired. So I decided, okay, I'm just not gonna do nothing. I'm just gonna lay in bed and do nothing. Yeah. So a lot of exhaustion. So I decided I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and do this. So yeah, that's where my brain is at here. I'm trying to keep it sharp for today. That being said, the expansion part of it, something you wouldn't want to say more than once, something that would make a great headline. Okay. So that would make a great headline. Email rates so killer. The only thing you'll ever have to worry about is what if they carry your favorite color of a Lamborghini, and word that in a way that's slightly better. That's perfect. You're done. Skip to the next part. You only want to do this once as an exercise. And so it's not more than once, something you could use as a headline, and something, and this is very clear that I mean with Tim, and I think also I mean with you, Daniela, I don't want to guess at what you're talking about. Daniela used a term, and again, this may be, what's your native language? Is it
Italian.
Italian. Okay, I just wanted to hear her say it. I knew what it was. I just like to hear Italian.
Yeah.
So when I lived in France, the people would say things that were speaking. They could all speak English naturally, except for some people, and I was the one going, and so they were doing their best to converse with me, and how they would translate things from English slang, especially, it was adorable, and that's what. So I'll hear my friends who speak a foreign language, like last night I was talking about a friend of mine from Israel, and she's like, it's now, she goes, I can't do the Israeli accent, but she's like, it's she called it a mute point. It's a mute point. I go, it's a mute point. It's a point you just want to mute. I said, so it's just kind of funny because moot is not a word we use all the time in English. It's like, we don't go around every day saying, oh, it's a moot point, right? And so she's learning the little nuances of the language, and it's like, yeah, it's a moot. But it's so funny because people that grew up speaking English don't know that. But so I might be the Italian English translation of what you were saying. I forget the phrase that you used. I said, I don't know what that means. I want you to.
Well, I was saying not pussyfooting around,
Yeah,
like in term, yeah. So I was using the term pussyfoot, which is an English word, right?
Yes. It's just not one we use a lot. Yeah.
That's right.
I was thinking this is the translation issue, and I don't know what I do know what the phrase means, of course. And I was thinking, wow, that's also like level 4 learning English. So bravo. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. How long have you spoken English? Did you grow up speaking it?
Well, yeah, I grew up speaking English. I speak 5 languages. So, but my native language is Italian. So
Only 5?
Yeah. I'm learning Hebrew though to add the 6.
Oh, yeah.
What a slacker!
You're taking on the easy languages. I see. It's like, yeah.
So, but I think that bottom line is that probably I was trying to be too clever on figuring out the primary goal extended.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't on this session last week, Friday. So probably I didn't get the point, but when you pointed out, I figured that it's just like future pacing. Like see the best version, like, hey, everybody's like turning their head when you just walk down the aisle. So that is probably was the point. But thank you for pointing out that.
Oh,
and
no, that's great.
I'm so proud of my Italian accent. You have no idea.
Oh, I would be too. If I sounded like that, I'd talk even more than I do now. So I love what you just said, and it's crucial that you are, in a sense, an expanded goal is future pacing. It's not future pacing technically in NLP when you're saying, like today you'll wake up and you won't have to work, but that's the technical future pacing, which we don't need to do that. But it is future pacing, meaning that you, in colloquial speaking, it's putting someone in a future position, and that's what everyone is doing when they're saying you're not going to worry what color. You're only going to be the only concern is what color, if they stock your favorite color of Lamborghini. Or Dobby had some great ones, and I put one of his on his. I love the gingerbread cookies. That was great. And then my only concern is like, can you fulfill that promise? So for example, it's like for Carlton to say, you'll be able to drive it. I don't remember because I'm not a golfer, as I probably alluded to 97 times last week. I don't like golf, but he said something about hitting a ball really far with a club.
230-yard drive with a 3-wood.
I don't know what that means. That
Perfectly straight too. That was the point. No slicing. They would hit it as like a blasted out of a cannon.
Yeah,
with a crappy club.
I got the meaning of it. I don't know what a 3-wood is. If I start throwing out, jargon of MMA, and it's kind of part of it sounds the same way, but it's like, oh, that's an Ezekiel choke from the. It's like, okay, what the hell is that? But it's the same thing. But if I could say that, even if you don't know what that is, and I could say it like, you'll be able to. You'll be such a badass on the street. So you'll be able to figuring out if you're going to use an Ezekiel choke or rear naked choke to subdue your attacker, while his girlfriend looks on with lustful eyes or something. Yeah, that's the idea. I tacked on the girlfriend lustful eyes part. That was kind of cool. I'll have to remember that. That's pretty good. It's like that's like every guy's like, okay, I'm drifting into like a lot of like interesting territories there. But that's where you want to go. You kind of want to go into that one area where you're not like, you would never use this more than once. Like, Use it as a headline, use it occasionally, and then you can play around with it. Like you could even open up an email with it like, hey, did you go Lambo shopping? Yeah? Did you find your color? Okay, onward to today's lesson. You know, as a joke, because they're teeing, you're teeing off, no pun intended here, on what you said in the headline. So that's really cool. Like in my headline, which I was going to use, but I decided not to, as an example, for Copywriter Blueprint, you know, that you'd be so persuasive you could, you know, talk Tony Robbins into doing mime, which was pretty funny. You know, anyone that knows Tony Robbins knows that how much he talks, so, and how big he talks and how big he is all over. You know, Tony Robbins doing mime is a pretty, you know, visual thing. You have to be really persuasive to be able to do that. But those are the kind of things that we want to key on. I would never say that more than once. You never have to. So basically, I've been tricking you into writing headlines. So essentially, it's what that is. A positive headline. You know, the same thing for the primary cause. It's you can do the same exact thing, which I didn't assign you to do, but you can, and take primary cause and do the, you know, just, you know, it's something that's so awful it will X, you know, which is another great headline. And if you look at what these headlines are, now you'll see, oh, that's just an expanded cause or an expanded goal. That's how they're doing it. And that's how we teach it. So kind of cool, isn't it? I mean, if you really break down this formula, you can start seeing, oh, here are the patterns, you know, that they're using. And something, when I read that Carlton headline, I before I, you know, broke out all this stuff into like these formulas and stuff, I was like, I had the same reaction that most people did. It's like, I could see it. And I've read all of his golf stuff just because he's the only guy I've ever really studied that much. Not because I don't like anybody else, because I just never have gotten around to it. But he's also a friend, so it's easy for me to do that with his stuff. But his stuff was so much in golf. I wanted to take something I didn't like, or that I can't say I don't like it. I've never done it, but it's something I'm not interested in doing. But if I could see that, then I know it's good. And so I can't regurgitate it like Tim, because Tim's obviously a golfer, or at least, or maybe he just knows everything about Carlton's golf stuff. But that's what you want. So take a topic. A great suggestion is to take a topic that you're not interested in and read a letter by someone that you know, like on swipe.co that has, you know, that you know for a fact that has a winning offer, and just see if it like compels you to not necessarily want to do it because you're not interested in it, but if you can see it, if the picture is so clear that even if you don't know the terminology, you know, like what I was goofing around with a few minutes ago with different chokeholds that you could put somebody in. You don't have to know what an anaconda is or whatever, the various millions of jokes that you can do in jiu-jitsu. If I said that you could subdue your attacker, you could take your pick of these chokes, and you know, the only thing you have to worry about is, you know, what to do with this lustful eyed girlfriend afterwards. You know? So that's just, I don't have to paint much more of a picture than that, right? I mean, that's like, clearly you're not only just dominating this guy, you're about to take his girl. That's pretty cool. Sorry, I went to the girl thing, guys, but that's just how when I get in copywriting mode, I turn off all the filters. That's very important to do. Oh, you know what we should talk about? We should talk about that. We should talk about turning off the filters. Yeah, how many of you guys have problems? Remember, okay, if you were on the call with me and everyone else last week when we raised money for my friend, you know that we were talking about, well, I talked about the Nietzschean Superman and writing from that perspective, but also writing from a perspective of being broken, like a perspective of, you know, I'm worse off than you are. But you have to go in your character's mind into both places. And we've already covered in speed writing how to go into a character mode when you write a character of yourself. So I want to cycle back to that, because you're not writing as yourself. You're ever. If you're wanting to compel strangers, if you're wanting to compel your list, then you can pretty much be as real as you want to be. If you're wanting to compel strangers that as yourself, you know, as if you're writing under your own name, you have to be in your highest possible self when you're writing pitches and closes, and you have to be in your lowest possible self when you're writing the rapport stories and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're going to come across as neutral. Neutral. I think neutral is the worst possible thing you could possibly ever come across as a writer. which is really weird for a centrist like me to say, but it is true. It is absolutely true. I mean, neutral is death. I'd rather alienate people, like Davi, I mentioned, don't swear as much, you know, because he's trying to be aggressive. You know, like I can feel that aggression in there. Unless you're writing to like diabetics that you know, like hate the world, or that you know, or like pissed off, you know, or you know, they're curmudgeon old men, you know, that you just know, or just you know, then it may work, you know, but probably not. Most diabetics don't have that demo, right? Copywriters all have that little bit of flair to them, that have a little bit, they could swing with a few F-bombs and stuff. And the ones that can't, I don't want in my class. So I'm using it as a gate, as a gatekeeper. Like I'll swear on purpose because I don't want people that are offended by it to come around me. Not that it's not much of a moral issue. If they're morally offended by it, I probably wouldn't get along with them that well. Not that I swear a ton of them, but the few times I do, I don't want people like, oh, I want a refund, you know. That's just a way I'm keeping like just a partition, because yeah. But getting out of yourself, getting out into your character self, and turning off the filter, you got to write without a filter. You can come back later and go, oh, I can't say that, but don't censor yourself. Don't censor yourself. So that's why I'm not telling Davi, for example, you should reconsider it now and look back on it and say, what word can I change? But at least he didn't censor himself. And that is much more important. So I didn't mention that, Davi, my apologies, but I'm mentioning it now. So yeah, and even if you like some of Davi, the thing that he said with diabetics, some of that may not even be able to be achievable. Like, he didn't say this, but what if I said for my audacious promise? That's another way I call it, the audacious promise. The audacious goal is you'll be able to eat bags full of sugar and nothing will happen. Well, that's not ever going to happen to any human being. But let's say I said that. Okay, just you'll be able to eat a whole bag of sugar for dinner, and your body will just, you know, digest it and use it for put muscle on. You know, complete bullshit, right? It's not even remotely accurate. I'd rather write that and get that idea out and then go, okay, well, I can't do that. And then go through the list of things I can't do. I can't fulfill. Oh, I can fulfill this. Can you see the difference there between writing and constantly censoring yourself? So
can I ask about that?
Yeah, shoot. So blow my nose. You can, certainly can. I will actually even turn off my video just so I can not bother you.
I have to step away for like 10 minutes. So I don't know if I missed this, you know, basically the problem I've been having with that is sometimes it's harder to reword what you have than to just start again from, you know, a different thought process.
Yeah. Well, it's different. I can see that too. But if you censor I'll just say it this way. If you censor while you write, your mind is in two different modes. There's editor mode and there's creative mode. You can't be in both. You can creatively edit something, but you can't be in both as a writer. And compartmentalization is so important. I mean, every great copywriter will tell you that they don't edit when they write. I've never heard anyone say that. I've done it. I've edited when I wrote because I had to have something done on time. And occasionally it would come out good because I was completely in when I say highest self, do you guys know what I mean by that now? Mm-hmm. The Nietzschean Superman and also the worst possible place you can be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So highest self does not mean I'm in a social woo-woo place. You know, I'm talking more practical here. But then I can get by with some editing as I go. If I say something, I go, oh crap, I can't say that. But I don't want to. I want to write unrestricted, you know, and have people come back and go, what the hell did you mean by this? I'd rather have that. I'd rather take out rather than say it differently. So that's another way of looking at it. Yeah. So
always as a writer. And I gave Davi this tip before, like he was asking about primary goals. And I gave him a tip, like if I'm creating something, I'll create it in a separate sheet rather than try and stick it into CopyPro. So I'll create a sheet with like primary goal and secondary goal, and I'll just riff. Okay, there's my primary goals. I'm looking right at them. What are the secondary goals? And then just dump them in one after the other without censoring. Like, don't even think about it. Just brain dump. And I'll also share, I don't think Paris would mind this because he shared a lot on that call, but he has shared that he has thought some pretty outrageous things. Like he was doing a promotion for and he wanted to go to a place where he wanted to say the most outrageous thing for a Viagra type thing. And so he thought of like back in the Chinese dynasty when like emperors had to satisfy a lot of women. Like, what did they do to like do that? And he actually found proof that there was a thing and an herb that they took in order to do that. And so he could make that claim in his ad. Can you imagine that headline? It pulled a lot because it was amazing. And he was able to really say the thing that Chinese emperors used to satisfy 9 women a night. You can have it, you know, like who would want that?
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is when you write from that perspective, you can, this is going to sound crazy, guys. This is going to sound really, really nutty, but it's the truth. I have made shit up just because I know I'm in that zone, and I knew I'd go back and take it out. And then I'll look at it. I'll just make up a study. I'll make up a fact. I'll make up this. And I'd say 8 out of 10 times I can find it. And I didn't know it existed. And it's very much like the Chinese herb that you have to take.
That's exactly what he did. He went as far as he could.
Yeah.
And then found proof. He's like, you know what? Maybe there is. Maybe something like that happened, right?
Right.
So do that. There's nothing stopping you from like waving that magic wand and going as far as you can. Then look on the internet for proof.
And you know what? There's a psychological precedent for that too. It's a lot of stuff that you don't know that you know. There's not in your conscious. It's in your subconscious. So some of the times when you're pulling stuff like that out, you may have heard that 10 years ago in conversation or walking past a television on your way into a restaurant, and you have no conscious recollection of it. Who knows how we know these things, you know, or there's just so much knowledge out there that, you know, you're just, I mean, I've also come up with great hooks I was looking for answers for, and some of them, I mean, I could just go down many stories of that where I come up with a hook and it's like, holy crap, that really exists. And it's like, where did that come from? I don't know, but that's why I don't want to censor myself. And that being said, you always should censor yourself when you go back and read the real thing, you know, because if you're saying the ancient Chinese herb that, you know, Chinese emperors took to satisfy 9 women a night and it never existed, then you're just bullshitting and you're making stuff up. But which a lot of copywriters do. You know, I think we've all been guilty of like trying to push the envelope a little too far there, but you don't have to. You can really, there's so much wild stuff out there. And I'll give you this great tip that Halbert did. I think we gave it away on the on the call with for Ruben, that what Halbert would do is he would quote, he would find like great quotes by, you know, Nobel Prize winning scientists and whatever, and use them as headlines, et cetera. But another thing he would do, he would find stories that were basically out of National Enquirer, you know, and so, you know, a story that's been circulating around, you know, is blank, you know, and he'll tell that story about, like, I think we did the world's oldest man, the world's oldest person's letter. And I would say, I don't know, I haven't looked it up, but I'd say there's no way that's true. In fact, well, I know because we were looking at how for another thing, the oldest person alive was like 124 on record. So his letter says it was 150 something, had kids at 130 or something outrageous things like that. That's got to be out of National Enquirer. That's got to be out of some folklore kind of. But all he's doing is he's essentially quoting a source that, you know, that is saying this. So that's kind of an interesting way of doing it. Just don't do that if you're doing anything that cures cancer, you know, or whatever. His stuff was, you couldn't write what he wrote, I don't think, today and get by with it, the colon cleanse one, but it's still great. Again, we're learning, you know what a great analogy for this is, guys? Like, especially for people like, you know, Dovey, who are like really heavily into compliance issues, I'm sure. The trick to this is like, there's a lot of moves that you learn in martial arts or in, you know, weightlifting or in music. I keep using the analogy of a scale, that rarely are you going to play a major scale when you're soloing in a jazz gig. I mean, are you going to play notes out of the scale? Yeah, of course. But you got to learn the scale first. It's the same thing here. So we're going to learn techniques that we're not necessarily going to use, but you need to know the principles of them. And then you know how to dissect them and put them in different places. So that's that's kind of what we're doing with the exploration of how do we say something. So I hope that makes sense. Anybody got any questions? Because we got to bolt here to the other call real quick. Otherwise, and
I have a quick question.
Yeah, shoot us.
When it comes to, I'm actually revising a sales pitch from that was already made by someone else, and I have my own process, but I want to know what your process is when it comes to reviewing copy and what you look for in, because this is a long sales page. Is I don't know 6,000 words, or do you have any process that you put your?
Yeah, I do, but I can't explain it in a minute. That's the problem. I can.
All right.
We asked that 20 minutes ago. If you can save that question until Friday, that'd be awesome. But I can give you the really short version of that. The most important part of any letter is the headline in the first paragraph. I mean, it's if that does not grab my attention, doesn't make me want to read the second paragraph, everything else goes out the window. So that it doesn't matter, you know, what else. The other thing I do is I look at the subheadlines and make sure they form a mini sales letter. So the subheadlines, you should be able to read the subheadlines to get the gist of the offer. If the subheadlines are non sequitur or they're not sell. If it doesn't sell, it's not interesting. If the subheadlines are not meant to sell something or draw intrigue, scratch them. That's the short version of it. We can go more into it next week though. It's an important thing to look for. Yeah. That, and I look for long sentences and thoughts that just ramble on, and you know, that same thing we've been doing a lot of in here is looking at stuff like that.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you on the call at 9 o'clock. Thanks for being here. Cool.